Good afternoon. We're back again with gloves off, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about the martial arts, what separates the reality-based martial arts, if you want to say that, and the tournament schools and the chop and block schools that we see in every corner. In the world of martial arts, there's different avenues for everybody, and there's some martial arts nowadays that are built more for a survival essence of combativeness in urban combatives. And today we have expert Mike Blackgrave of CMUC to talk a little bit about what has happened in the martial arts and why he developed CMUC and what is going on now within, I would say, Central Texas, San Antonio area where he's based out of. Good afternoon, Mike.
Howdy, howdy. How y'all doing? How you all doing?
We're doing fine. It's been a while. You know, we've known each other for a while now,
Oh
and
yeah, about
we
10
had
years, 11
some,
years.
yeah, more or less, and we've seen a difference in the road the martial arts have taken, yeah, especially the combative, tactical sense of the word.
Yeah,
We had a lot of folks that like or say we do traditional arts, you know, like Taekwondo or Karate
sure.
or the Kempos and such.
Yeah,
And they really forget that escrimas are also traditional, and savat's also traditional, and Wing Chun and some Kung Fu's are traditional as well.
hmm
And they forget that they look at those arts and they say those arts are really not effective in reality, which
hmm
many times are wrong. What do you say about that?
Well, I think number one is what's your definition of traditional? That's one of the biggest things. A lot of people believe that, traditional is wearing pajamas, running around a dojo, bowing to everything, and doing the old things like that. Having studied in the Philippines and having always studied with really good teachers who had a traditional base, my mindset on traditional is methodologies, arts, what have you, that are geared and designed for combat, for fighting. You go to the Philippines, they'll call their escrimas very, very traditional. I mean, that's just the bottom line. They do. But if you look at their definition of traditional, it's like it's tribal. You're passing on the weaponry, you're passing on these abilities to not bow to somebody, but to traditionally have these skills that have been passed down from person to person, clan to clan, to protect yourself and to protect others. That's my definition of traditional. Like my Wing Chun, it's a traditional Wing Chun. It's an old school Wing Chun, but by no means am I running around a pair of black tennis shoes and pajamas. No, it's all about the fighting, the hitting, the training, the sweating, the bleeding. That's what traditional means to me. Everybody's going to put their moniker on it, what they think it's going to be, but to each their own. If you think traditional is soft and weak, well, that's on you. That means you're not diving deep enough into the deep end of the pool, and that's my opinion.
No, and you're correct. Um, Within the arts, and you know, a lot of people look at Savat, for example, and they say that's not a
hmm
non-traditional martial art. Well, wait a minute. Savat's been older than most of the martial arts that are alive and
Yeah,
kicking now. People forget that most martial arts really in the United States came out of, in the world basically, came out of right after the Korean War or the Korean
yeah,
conflict. But when we start talking about tradition, it's you're passing on a type of respect. You know,
sure.
some people are forced respect. You know, some of these arts like Taekwondo and so forth, that were basically military arts. It's more of a respect that you have to do it, and you're not respecting the person that's there. You're respecting the reason why you're there. And while in
hmm
Savat, it's more like you earn respect because of how you treat others, and you basically develop a different warrior sense of respect. And I think that's what the Philippines Escrimars are as
hmm
well.
Yeah.
You study with some great living legends like
Yeah.
Grandmaster Yuli Romo. Tell me about that experience that you had.
Training with Master Yuli was very surreal. I had come out of a pugilist background for years and years and years, and I'd always wanted to train in the Philippines. And my late wife was from the Philippines, so I had the ability not only to have a place to stay when I got there and all the amenities, but I also had saved up enough money to haul my butt over there. And I remember training with Master Yuli. He would take me to his home island, and it was like just very old school, electricity 2 or 3 hours a day. And his patience was unbelievable because I had a lot of habits from Pikiti Tertia that I had to not so much lose or break, but I had to reassemble into something that worked via the Bahad Zubu Illustrissimo that he taught me. At first, I was very, very frustrated because, as anybody in the arts for a long time, you think you should get something right away. But it literally took me, a few days to kind of understand the concepts he was teaching. But his patience was unbelievable. And after really starting to learn from him and taking my time, and we trained hours upon hours of the day. We trained in the evening, in the afternoon, in the mornings, and there was no distraction. There was no anything. It was him, me, a beautiful island, the beautiful people on the island, and swords and sticks. And I really attribute my ability to move as freely as I can and to understand movement and to understand um, flow to Master Yuli, because that was the one thing he keyed on me was movement, flow, angles, circular motion, softness, hardness, when you need all these things, and how to train it for yourself and build it for yourself. That's what I really took from Master Yuli. His ability is, I mean, he was phenomenal. He is one of the most phenomenal martial artists I have ever met. And through him, I was able to really hone in on what I wanted to do later on down the road when I created CMOC. And that's why even within my Wing Chun, it's very eclectic. You'll see a lot of that Illustrissimo motion because those same motions in Illustrissimo I've noticed were in Silat. I noticed are in Wing Chun. I noticed them in Goju when I trained Goju for years and years. I just never had a reference point on really how to blend it all together until I met Master Yuli. And that's the one gift that he gave me when I went over there. I trained with him 27 days, 6 to 10 hours every day. It was just like a master's class in movement, and I'll be forever grateful for that.
Those wonderful experiences. Uh, your late teacher, Ricky Rivera.
Yeah,
I knew
Kitty
Ricky way
Tercia.
back
Yeah.
when I was 18, 19, yeah, in Piquete Tercia. And he
Hmm.
used to come over and train with my father and my uncle in the Cipote and the Savant. And
Yeah.
that was my first experience or my first eye opener into the Filipino arts. It
Yeah.
was Ricky Rivera, and that's how how we all met. Because when he passed on,
Hmm.
that's how you and I became
Yeah.
better acquainted. And what's the differences between a lot of people say Paquita Tercia with Yuli, with Doce Pares, with each one has its own little twists and turns
Well,
that make them
I think
the
a lot
styles
of
different.
yeah, I think the Pikiti Terci is a very aggressive style. It's a very uh, counter aggressive style, I should say that. I mean, they have counters for recontras, whatever they want to call them. And, the thing with Bikini Terci is every group seems to be a little different depending on who they run under. Leo Gahe's people, they run a little bit different than, say, Mr. Wade's people. Because, I think Tim Wade's one of the best Bikini Tercia advocates out there. I just saw him this weekend and he still blows my mind. I've trained with him several times. He's phenomenal. So I think Bikini Tercia as a whole, there's guys doing a lot of different things that a lot of, they look similar, but they're different. But in terms of Pikiti Tercia to Illustrissimo, because those are the two I've studied in depth. I studied Pikiti for 8 years, and I studied Illustrissimo for many, many years. The two differences I really see in that is the simplicity of Illustrissimo, because in truth, there's really not a whole lot to it. I mean, you have an abecedario, you have all these tiny little things that were created by the five pillars, not so much by Tatang himself. Tatang really, you'd ask Tatang, what's the number one? And he'd tell you the one I hit you with. Where Pakiti Tercia has been more systemized because that's the way Tuhangahe wanted to take it. You got this guy who did this, and all these guys have added to it, still within the Bikini Tertia, but it's more systemized, where Illustrissimo is a little bit less structured. But I think in that less structured approach, I think basically the effectiveness of Illustrissimo is just, in my opinion, is phenomenal. Another reasoning between the two, what makes them two is different, is where Pakiti Tertia loves to get in close and do a lot of close stuff, and that's where they really do their work well. Illustrissimo is a medio. The Illustrissimo game, as I know it and was taught it, really shines in the medium distance, the medio distance. Yes, we could play outside, but Tatang and even Maestro Yuli would always tell you, if you're way outside, there is no fight. You know, why you going into a fight when he can bring him to you? And the medio or the medium range is where that really shines because of the motion, because of the usage of the weapon, the way they use the weapon. But yes, there is a close quarter game, but you're always bridging to that safe range. A lot of systems don't have a medium game. They have a largo game or they have a corto game, close and long, and they use the medium distance for a bridge. Where Illustrissimo, the bridge is the attack. That bridging medium distance is where it shines, and that's where you catch a lot of people because you catch them trying to bridge in and they come right into your wheelhouse. And in Illustrissimo, that's where you end it, right in that medium distance. Those are the two biggest things. Both excellent systems, both have excellent practitioners. And but I just think, for me personally, I really like Bikiti. But when I played the Illustrissimo, and that's what I still do to this day, the simplistic nature of it just fits. There's nothing convoluted. There is nothing that, I mean, that you have to sit there and have a science degree to figure out. Basically, maneuvering, uh, quick hitting, using fraction strikes, simple knife work, hitting what is given, and moving on. And I love that aspect. I'm not the smartest man in the world, so anything that can be made simpler, I like.
That's a great explanation of the two differences, and I've seen Paquita Tercel a while back. I haven't seen it lately. You know, I have, even though I
Hmm.
have a lot of friends that train in it,
Yeah,
and the ones that I've seen are basically the ones that have come out of Stockton. You know, your Bajalana and your
yeah,
Cerrada
yeah.
and your De Cuerdas, which are totally different
Hmm.
in approach. You know, I think they have more of
Sure.
a American mentality towards it. You know, because they were dealing
Hmm.
with the American fighter of
Hmm.
the street.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to point out is that many martial arts schools are cross training or in the Filipino arts, correct?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's they're prevalent everywhere you go. If you find a good instructor, it's very practical. And if you find somebody who can depart the knowledge to you, or impart the knowledge to you, I should say, it doesn't take a long time. I mean, the days of, oh, I must have 5 years under my belt to be effective, is dead. And with me, it's been dead for even longer than that, because my goal is to get people good fast. I can teach you a template, a 5 cut template with 2 thrusts in it in an afternoon. Give me another afternoon to show you footwork, and then we'll play with it for a week or so. And within a week, you should be able to run a knife from the draw to the cut to the stab. The rest is in your heart and in your mind. Can you do it? I mean, it doesn't matter what you know. If you can't put it into play, you could be Bruce Jackie Ali. I don't give a damn. But if you can't put it into play because of this, or you don't have it in your heart, I don't care what you know. It's not going to be effective. The problem with a lot of the arts, and I don't care what it is, CLOT, whatever, these people, they go into it and they think, the instructors, they tag them along because the hours go by, the money comes in, and instead of teaching them how to be effective now, they basically string them along, and they don't give them anything pertinent to save their ass if they walk out of the door. When people come train with me, my goal is every class you leave here, you are going to have something you can do now. Whether that is a simple turning of the horse and hitting a guy in the neck, or using verbal judo, or teaching a guy how to use mansao, wusao, or the fence, or whatever it is, I'm going to give you a tool each and every class that you can take home and work. And here again, as a teacher, you well know I can only teach you so much. If you don't take the work home and work it, you're only going to learn so much in class. I mean, that's what classroom is not where you perfect. Classroom is where you learn. Perfection comes on your own in your own laboratory. Take the time out and make it work for you. And that's why I think a lot of people, when they go to these arts, Filipino arts or what have you, they go to class and, okay, I learn abecedario 1 through 12, blah, 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 blah. Everything's honky dory, but they never touch it outside of that. And then they come back to class, they don't know it as well. They got to go right back to it instead of honing it and putting it deep into their hard drive. That's just, bottom line is, this is on you. You got the tools. You got to hone them. You got to sharpen them. I'm not going to sharpen your edge for you. That's up to you.
You're You're absolutely correct. And the simpler arts are the most effective arts in my book. And, like
Yeah,
Savat, I mean, there
that's
is
why I
just like
like Savat.
boxing. You have a jack.
Kicking, punching, elbow, maneuvering, hitting. What else in the
And
street?
it's
It's
it's simple, but folks have to train in it. And you get to these other arts that you have to know at least 10 different stances before you can even throw a kick. Now we're doing into a different type of manipulation into the body, which is fine.
hmm
But we live in the Occidental world, the Western world, and Western arts a little bit more aristocratically gentle with back alley brutality, if you want to use that term,
hmm
And you have that with Savat, you have that with the Filipino arts now, and you have that with some of the old karates that came over to the States and were forged here in America, because a lot of arts
hmm
are still in mainland China and Japan and so on and so forth. But when they come here to the United States, the American fighter thinks a lot different, and you know that very well.
hmm
And so you have to either they adapt or they go away the road of the dodo, And I think that's what
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
done with CMUC. You brought in the different arts, the different skills, and you've honed them into for a person that does, how can I say, does not have the 4 or 5 years to go in, but yet he
hmm
has enough time to train correctly, and he can go home and produce his skills.
Yeah.
Correct?
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of times when it depends on the instructor too. I mean, what are the experiences of the instructor? I see violence differently from a lot of people out there because a lot of people teaching this stuff has never experienced violence. They've never been in a gunfight. They've never been cut. They've never been stabbed. They've never smashed anybody. They've never bled themselves. They've never made anybody bleed. They've never been through that. Through my life's choices, not always good, and through my choice of ways of earning money, I've done every bit of what I just said. And so I look at violence a lot different than most people. I know violence doesn't happen in a vacuum. And I know violence isn't something that you can prepare for 100%. Nobody, whatever. No, I don't care what anybody says. Yes, there's the OODA loop. Yes, there's awareness. Yes, there's all these things. But you know what? At the end of the day, as a civilian, and if you are a good person, you're going to be second. So if this instructor doesn't have anything in his back pocket except a handkerchief, because he's never done anything, he's never been anything. He's teaching from a premise of what? Oh, theory. My theory has to work because my Sifu told me or my sensei told me. Now I'm telling you, I don't teach from that manner. I don't teach from the grand poobah status. When I teach you how to put a blade in somebody, it's from experience. When I tell you to hit this area right here and show you how to hit this right here, it's not because I think that's going to work. It's because I've done it. I was a bouncer for 15 years of my life. I bounty hunted. I did things that probably shouldn't talk about. I'm hoping that the statute of limitations are over on them. I've led a tumultuous life, and it was by my own decisions. I blame nobody for it. But the way I teach people, and the way I teach people to get good fast, is from my experiences. We do things like wall drills, and where some people, might do the same type of drill, but they're nice and soft with it. I'm 6'4", 290 pounds, and when I slam you on a wall, I'm slamming you on a wall, and I'll fight your way off of it, and I'll work with you until you understand how to use your body, how to use your mind and your abilities. So I come from this perspective on violence that I know what worked, and I know what I've done, and I know what I can put into you. And once you have the skill set, now the rest is up to you. I'm not telling anybody to go out and live like I did or hurt people or do what I did to gain this experience. But I guess maybe a little bit vicariously through me, my experiences and the way I teach them pretty rough and pretty hard, that they pick something up out of that, and maybe that'll fuel something in them if it ever goes bad for them. But I just look at violence a lot different. A lot of people sugarcoat this shit and they think it's going to come in some kind of crazy vacuum, just the way they want it, because, hey, shooting that paper target on the range from 22 feet is how they expect it to happen. Where in fact, you might be sitting at a table, just got done with 5 shots of tequila, and somebody pulls out a pistol and shoots your buddy in the shoulder in Mexico. Bottom
Well,
line.
yeah, exactly right. Different instructors have different viewpoints, and you're right. You're on point. And the what I see, and I always tell everybody, how can you teach something you've never lived? I see so many, especially here in South Texas. I see so many people now world champion
Mm-hmm.
this, champion in that, and champion of this
Mm-hmm.
title of something or other, and they're
Yeah.
teaching folks how to fight in the ring, and they themselves have never even been in the ring, and they're
Mm-hmm.
basically causing a lot of harm. Of course, it's a fad. I mean, you have boxing schools now, CrossFit
Sure.
schools are now teaching not only a combativeness of sport element, but now I've seen CrossFit schools teach combative martial skills, trying to buy off of Krav Maga or some of the other systems out there
Mm-hmm.
that are
Yeah.
microwavable, if you want to put it that way. And you know, I have honor in my name. You know, if I teach somebody, I tell people this: if you come to my school, and I'm going to teach you how to knock the shit out of that person that just called your mom a name, or pushed you, or grabbed your wife's ass or girlfriend's ass, and you're going to knock that son of a bitch into the ground. Now, if you get your ass kicked, at least you tried. Now, if you cowered,
Yeah.
that's a total different entity. So it's
Mm-hmm.
I'm I've never disrespected my teachers' names, nor in the
Yeah.
ring nor in the street. So
Yeah.
when I teach that way, I'm going to teach my students to live, to survive, for them to be able to go home. I'm more concerned about
Mm-hmm.
my students when they leave their house and they get into their car and they go off to work and they live in society and they come back. That's okay. You've made the day. If you have kids that are training, because I have youngsters now that we train, and it's like, okay, they're going to come and they're going to punch you in the face. You better know how that punch is and how it's coming for you to defend against it. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of hard to do. Okay, because
Mm-hmm.
children,
Mm-hmm.
number one, their mentality is different. So you have to separate the art into different facets. I can't teach the kids that are 17 or under, as per se, you know, here's how you use a knife. You don't do that, but you can teach them the movements that when they're 17 and so on and so forth, they can understand it and move forward with a lot easier and
Sure.
faster pace.
Sure.
So that's a
I agree.
difference. There's a difference there. But I see schools that teach kids eskrima. I went to a school the other day, and I was invited there to talk with them, and they were doing sticks class. They were doing some kind of kali, some kind of mishmash, something or other that they pulled out. In fact, they were doing some forms,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm no expert in eskrima. And they said, "How do you like that?" And I go, "That's pretty cool. You know, what are you doing? That's form whatever, whatever." Oh, okay, okay, good. But the instructor had no clue of what he was doing. Now, it's exactly
Mm-hmm.
what you said. The instructor had no idea what he was doing. He's teaching others
Yeah.
stuff that is made up from some garbage of YouTube or something or other.
Yeah.
And now he's placing them in a type of dangerous situation, because that person that's learning, he thinks that he's knowing something that is valuable to save his life. And in
Mm-hmm.
all honesty,
Yeah.
sometimes they come underneath. And in
I
today's
call
world,
that
it's a
I
total
call that
different entity.
accountability. I call that accountability with angels. A lot of these, and it's nothing new. I guess it's been happening a while, but a lot of people, they get Krav Maga certified through seminars. They get this certified through seminars. You can go on YouTube, and it's really not hard to pick up what I don't know, people call it Heaven Six or whatever. It's these drills, and they stick this into their curriculum because they need more. They need more curriculum. The more curriculum, the more students. The more students, the more awe factor. I mean, I've seen schools here where they're offering Taekwondo, Krav Maga. They call their eskrima something that they totally made up. But they're still using methods from Doce Patas or whatever it is. But here again, they're filling their school with people who want these entities. And let's be honest, the vast majority of people who seek out a martial arts school to go to just go to A. Bam. Is it close to me? Do I have to travel too far? Hey, great, man. They got a class time that fits me from 6 to 7:15. It's 5 miles away. Timmy, Johnny, and my wife, we can all go do the family plan. Yay. So they're filling up themselves with that, and then all of a sudden they get this angel complex that they actually think what they're learning in these type of schools is going to play out when it jumps into the street. Well, here we go again. I lived a street life. Like I said, what I've done in my life and the things I've done, sometimes I should have been in prison for a lot of it years and years ago. And so I understand, and I try to tell these people, enlighten them, you get caught up in the street in this shit and you try to pull this stuff. These guys in the street who do this for a living, street life is a living, their training is their doing. I don't give a shit what you know. I don't give a shit if you ain't hard in your heart, if you ain't got a resolute mind, heavy skills, and the will to put somebody away, to hurt somebody bad, to pull a Glock and put two in their head because that's what's done, or pull your blade and slice a son of a bitch's face wide open. If you don't have that in you, all your little heaven six and all these little things aren't going to do you a bit of good, because these cats today, right here in San Antonio, Texas, if these MS-13 and these hoods out here, man, if they're coming for you, man, good luck to you, because you've been ill prepared. But here again, a lot of these schools, man, a lot of these people, they follow these great poobah instructors who say, yes, this will work because it's worked for me. 60 years of doing it. Look at me, look at me. When in fact, these same cats haven't seen jack shit in life. I don't give a shit what their credentials are, and I don't give a shit who they are. Most of them can't fight their way out of a wet paper sack. I put a blade up to them, and most of them are going to do? They're going to fucking run. And that's what they should do. It's the bottom line. Most of these guys have no street in them. None.
No, you're correct. The majority of martial arts instructors out there never had a schoolyard tussle, yet alone teaching martial arts. I know guys that are teaching martial arts now that their sisters used to protect them when they got off of school. The bus. The sisters were the ones who protect them, and now they're out there, grandmaster this and grandmaster that. Please, give me a break. I tell my students this: I rather my students to understand how to use a blade than to feel it like I did at the age of 15.
Yeah.
Okay, for him not to feel an ice pick. When you're fighting, all of a sudden, boom, somebody pokes you. Wait a minute. Good form was what saved me, not knowing a form. Understand what I'm saying? So
yeah. Yes, I do.
I rather for those experiences, you pass them on to your students, and for them to grow from it. In a reality-based situation. I see a lot of changes. I see a lot of changes right now. I see martial arts being used in these protests that we're seeing left and right. And I'm seeing folks that are claiming to be training in certain martial arts going out there and making havoc in the world. And listen, the bad guys are training. So you better get your ass into the gym and train correctly. Yeah. I don't care if you train, you have to drive 25 miles for a school like I did, like you did, like many of us that really wanted to learn would do that.
You and I, Paul, have traveled around the world to get our training.
Of course.
I traveled the Philippines,
Yeah. And I would always say this. I want to learn from the person that was the bone roller. The Kempo traditional bone roller, the guy that knew how to kick ass, would take names. I want to learn from that guy. I don't want to learn from the guy that had 15 trophies doing forms. I want to learn from the guy that knows exactly where to hit you, how to hit you, and why he's going to hit you. And there's very few of those martial art instructors left. There's plenty of martial art instructors around, but very few that are bone rollers, okay? And that are fighters and teachers together, because you have a lot of teachers out there that can't fight, and you have a lot of fighters out there that can't teach. I'm talking about the one can do both. And that bone roller is very, very, it's a rare breed that are missing right now in this world. Yeah. But what do you
If you look at the world, though, Paul, if you look at the world, though, the bone rollers are gone for something very simple. Look what's going on around us. Look at the way young people are today. Guys like you and me and, guys that we know, it's like they want to put you behind glass and break in case of war. But look at the softness of our society. I mean, a girl's bathroom is a boy's bathroom, and I'm going to identify my gender as a fucking posy, stuff like that. So bone rollers are going to die out more and more and more. And there's a few of us left who's trying to pass it on to some good people who will listen. But the more this society becomes a decaying cesspool of crap, all you're going to do is have soft daisies coming up through the shit. And that's what you're seeing. And that's why the stuff's happening the way it is. I mean, my God, I've had guys show up at my class, Paul, and you know where I teach. I'm out in the cul-de-sac and on the concrete. We're working. I've had people, young guys, show up 2021 who look fit as hell, and within 45 minutes of doing footwork and drills, complain that they have to stop because their feet hurt.
Oh
No
yeah,
shit.
no, no. You should. I mean, I get that every day here. You know, I get the guy that's
It's
going to be the next world champion and never that's 35 years old and the other day I told him, Mom, she called me up and she said, you know, I have troubles with my daughter. And I go, okay. She brings the young lass in and she starts training with my wife in capoeira. And my daughter's there and two other females are there. And she just turns around and says, I don't need to do this fucking shit. I mean, I just kind of like, listen, okay. And the girl walks off the mat and goes over there with her mom, and I'm standing there talking with the mother, and she goes, you know, again, she cursed out her mom, then cussed out the place and everything else. And I told the mom, you know what? Sorry, I can't accept her. But we're going to pay you the year contract. We can pay 3 months up front. It's not the money.
yeah,
It's the attitude of that. And
exactly.
that attitude, I don't want it in this school,
No,
period.
it's
You
a
know, you got
cancer.
problems with your daughter. And
Hmm.
that's not that's not an issue of where she's going to school. That's not an issue of a martial arts school. I'm pretty sure there's a martial arts school here in town that would accept her in a heartbeat. But
Yeah,
I'm also pretty sure that there are plenty of martial arts schools here that would not screen their students when they come in. They have a bunch of gangbangers running around. Why?
yeah,
Because they have to pay the bills. One, as a
hmm,
martial art instructor, has to understand that and kind of divide. Do I really want to teach this gangbanger or not? I'd rather teach the
yeah,
kid that has to stand up against those gangbangers every day, and teach them for free than to teach these gangbangers over here. And that's
yeah.
where we as instructors have to draw the line. You know what? Sorry, I'm not going to teach you. I don't
You
want you
got to
coming
vet
in
your
here
people.
cussing in the middle of the. You're not going to come in here and cuss out in the middle of the class, cuss out your mom, cuss out the school, and so on. So we don't need that. I'm sorry, you know. And
Hmm.
everything went from a blame from she has problems in school. Well, you can see that, but it's not our fault. You should have spanked her when she was growing up. That's number one. You know, it's not. There's no medicine, and it's not a medical problem. It's parenting problem,
Yeah.
and that's what we see. You know, and we kind of got sidetracked on that. But coming back to what we were talking about, they sent me a video on. It's here in Laredo on a local corner gasoline. It was one of those Valero stripe gasoline stations where everybody goes and parks and you know hot rods and so on and so forth and
Yeah.
souped up cars on Sunday. And there was a martial art guy that was walking out from the school and known here in Laredo. And this guy just walks up to him in the middle of the parking lot and just nails him in the back of the head. The guy
Yeah.
fell down to the ground and three guys started shoe shining him. And then all of a sudden, you know, through the grapevine, you hear that he got beaten up. But I had never seen the video of what happened. You know, first that it was four guys jumped him. That was three guys that jumped him. But he was not aware of the whole situation. I mean, he went there where you have opposing parties, if you want to talk about that. You see a danger that's there. And still
Hmm.
he went in there, you know,
Hmm.
not trying to avoid going in there, I guess, to prove a point, and he got a point proven. And in
Yeah.
martial arts, like I keep saying, it's all about awareness, nothing else but awareness, and that's going to
Hmm.
happen. And
Yeah.
that's going to happen. You know, I'm 48 years old. I'm walking down the street with my wife. I see a couple of punks out there. Pretty sure I can take them, but why am I going to cross the street and walk through them? Just keep on
Yeah.
walking your own, mind your own business. Understand what I'm saying? But that's
Hmm.
where people
I understand.
stupidly make
Hmm.
mistakes. And that's where I guess
Yeah.
life and experiences lead us. Mike, I know that changing um, the subject, I know that last week you lost your wife, and I want
Yeah.
to give you my most sincere condolences on behalf of
I
Buitron
appreciate it.
Academy and here at La Radio. We love you, man. Keep on trying. Keep on. We're here to help you in whichever form or fashion. We're a phone call away. and keep teaching. Keep
Appreciate
doing
it.
what you're doing. You got
Hey, it's
anything
all I
else
know
on
how
there
to do,
for
man.
the folks out there? Just keep
Well, you know,
surviving, keep moving forward.
I just wanted to touch on one last thing, Paul. When you talked about that awareness, and I guess I'm a stickler for it, and I tell people all the time, in this world today, never leave your house not ready for combat. Make sure you are good, boots to blade, gun to ground. Be good with everything. Train with as many good people as you can. Be good everywhere. Have an awareness about you. If you see it, don't go there. If you got to deal with it, have the tools to deal with it. But never, ever, ever leave your house not prepared for combat, because violence doesn't happen in a vacuum, and that shit will find you as quick as you can think. And for people to sit there and think, oh, I'm going to wear flip flops and I'm going to go, and I don't, this ain't Billy Jack. So people, if I could give you one little bit of knowledge, boots to blade, gun to ground, train, 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 make it a way of life. If you make it a way of life, it's not work, it's love. And at the end of the day, man, that love will see you through, and it will see your family through, and it'll make everybody better, to make everybody healthier and safer. And I'll tell you what, the gift of empowerment, being able to walk with your head high, knowing that you have the mental faculties, the physical faculties, and the spiritual faculties to deal with violence in any way, shape, form, or fashion, is one hell of a good feeling. And I'll tell you what, I'm blessed to have it. And I know Paul is too, because we've talked about these many things. And other than that, I thank you for your condolences. It's been a rough week, but I'm driving through. I'm already teaching. I'm already planning. I'm already playing. The best thing I can do for me and my family is to honor my wife's wishes. And she always told me, when you're feeling down, you're feeling frumpy, and you're feeling fat, get your big ass out on the patio and train. And that's what I'm going to do here in about 45 minutes. I got the boys showing up, or I'm going to put them through some hell. So I thank you, though, Paul. I really do.
No, we thank you, and keep on pushing forward over there in San Antonio. Keep getting people on the
Sure
right
will.
track. And
I will.
we'll get together soon. All righty, brother?
All right, brother.
You
Thank you
take
so
care.
much, man. Appreciate it. Bye bye, y'all. Be good.
You be safe. Stay tuned for next week. Next week we have a couple of great guests. We've always had one. And we're going to talk a little bit about Cerrada coming out of Stockton. And we're going to talk a little bit more on the C-Lot things. And so we have interesting guests and great martial artists. And once more, be safe and have a happy 4th.